You've been told your past is locked in place. That reality exists on its own, separate from you. That your consciousness is just some side effect, a passenger in a universe that doesn't really care whether you're aware of it or not. You've been told that what happened already happened, and nothing you think, feel, or observe can change that. But what if I told you that assumption is wrong? And not just wrong in some poetic or spiritual way, but wrong according to physics itself. What if I told you that physicists have been sitting on something for decades? Not because they're evil or hiding secrets on purpose, but because what they uncovered is so unsettling, so destabilizing to our understanding of reality that even they don't fully want to face it. They sometimes refer to it quietly as the skeleton in the closet. And today, I'm going to walk you through an experiment, not a complicated one, not something filled with equations and jargon. Just a simple experiment involving boxes and marbles. That's it. And by the time we reach the end, you're going to be standing at a crossroads, a real choice. One that will completely alter how you see your past, your trauma, your healing process, and your ability to shape your own reality. Here's the thing most people get wrong. They think quantum physics lives somewhere far away from real life. In underground labs with machines they'll never touch, studying particles they'll never see. They assume it has nothing to do with their anxiety, their childhood wounds, their sense of being stuck, or the quiet feeling that life is happening to them instead of through them. But that assumption couldn't be further from the truth, because what happens inside that quantum box is happening inside your consciousness right now. It's happening every time you revisit your past. Every time you take a memory and lock it into a single, rigid story. Every time you decide which version of reality gets to become solid and real. And this is where things start getting uncomfortable. The experiment I'm about to show you isn't hypothetical. It's not a thought experiment. It's been performed thousands upon thousands of times, all over the world, and it produces the same shocking outcome every single time. When physicists talk about it, and believe me, they don't like to talk about it, they use words like deeply troubling and philosophically uncomfortable. Niels Bohr, one of the founding fathers of quantum mechanics, famously said that anyone who isn't shocked by quantum mechanics hasn't understood it. But he also said something else that's even more revealing. He said we shouldn't think too deeply about what it means, just shut up and calculate. Why would one of the greatest physicists of all time say that? What exactly are they so eager not to look at? Let me ask you something. What if their discomfort comes from the fact that this experiment proves something they don't want to be true? Something that completely collapses the old worldview? What if observation doesn't just reveal reality, but actively creates it? What if consciousness isn't separate from the physical world at all, but is actually shaping it moment by moment, like a sculptor working with clay? And if that's true for something as simple as a marble in a box, what does that mean for your life, for your past? For the stories you've been telling yourself about who you are and what's possible for you. Stay with me, because what you're about to see is going to challenge everything you think you know. And unlike most spiritual teachings that claim you create your reality without offering any real evidence, this comes straight from objective science, from repeatable experiments, from physics that anyone anywhere can verify. This isn't philosophy, this isn't metaphysics, this is physics, cold, hard, measurable physics. And here's the part no one warns you about. Once you truly see this, you can't unsee it. Once you understand how observation collapses infinite possibilities into a single outcome, you'll never relate to your trauma the same way again. So if you're ready to go deeper, let's start somewhere deceptively simple, almost laughably simple, and let's watch what happens when simplicity exposes something impossible. Picture this: 2 boxes. 1 marble, that's all. I know what you're thinking. This is it. This is the experiment that's supposed to shake reality. Just stay with me. Here's how it works. I take 1 marble and place it into one of 2 boxes. We'll call them box A and box B. I don't tell you which one. Then I close both boxes. Simple, straightforward, no tricks. Now we perform the first test. I open the boxes one at a time. Let's say I open box A first. What do we see? The marble sitting there, whole and complete, exactly where you'd expect a marble to be. Then I check box B empty. Nothing inside. We repeat the experiment. New marble, new placement. This time when I open box A first, it's empty. Box B contains the marble. We do this again and again, hundreds of times. And every single time the result is the same. The marble is entirely in one box. The other box is completely empty. When we track where the marbles land on a screen behind the boxes, they scatter randomly. Exactly what common sense would predict. Most people stop right here. They say, see, reality is fixed. The marble was always in one specific box. We just didn't know which one until we looked. And that's where nearly everyone gets stuck, because that explanation feels safe. It feels intuitive. And it's about to be completely destroyed. Now let's change just one thing, one tiny variable. Instead of opening the boxes one at a time, what if we open them at the exact same moment? Same boxes. Same marble, same setup. The only difference is how we observe. Both boxes open simultaneously, and at first glance nothing seems different. The marble still appears whole. It still shows up in one box. It still looks like an ordinary marble behaving normally. But then something strange begins to emerge. As we repeat the experiment hundreds of times, the marbles landing on the screen behind the boxes stop looking random. They start forming a pattern, not noise, not chaos, a structured pattern. Stripes, bands, regions where marbles consistently land and regions where they never land at all. And that pattern depends entirely on one thing, the distance between the two boxes. Let that sink in. The marble appears whole in box A, box B is empty. We can see it's empty. And yet the distance between these two boxes determines where the marble lands. Change the distance and the pattern changes. How does a marble sitting fully inside box A know anything about box B? About a box it's not in. About a space that's completely empty. Here's the part they don't like to say out loud. For the marble to be influenced by the distance between both boxes, it must have been present in both boxes at the same time. This isn't speculation. This is the unavoidable conclusion of the experiment. The marble was not in box A or box B before you looked. It existed as a wave spread across both locations simultaneously, interfering with itself and creating the pattern you see on the screen. And here's the twist. When you observe the boxes sequentially, one at a time, the wave collapses differently. No pattern appears. The marble behaves like a solid object in one box and the distribution becomes random again. Same marble, same boxes, same setup, two completely different outcomes. All because of how you chose to observe. So what actually changed? Not the marble, not the boxes. You did, your decision, your method of observation. This is the moment where discomfort sets in. Because we've just demonstrated something that shouldn't be possible. The marble is in one box when you observe it one way. The marble is in both boxes when you observe it another way. That directly violates everything we think reality is supposed to be. And right now, your mind is probably scrambling, trying to explain this away, trying to regain solid ground, and that resistance. That urge to dismiss what you just heard, that's exactly where the real story begins. So now your mind starts searching for a way out. Some way to make this make sense without having to accept the impossible. Let me guess what you're thinking. You're looking for the loophole, the trick. The hidden explanation that saves the old model of reality. So let's go through the most common objections, because they always come up. The first one is always this: the boxes must be prepared differently. There has to be some hidden mechanism, some trick in the setup. Maybe when we do the sequential opening, the boxes are arranged one way. And when we do the simultaneous opening, they're arranged another way. That sounds reasonable, so let's test it. Same pair of boxes, prepared identically. Same setup, same conditions, no differences, but this time I don't decide how we open them. You do, right before the experiment, at the last possible moment. You choose sequential or simultaneous, completely free choice. No pre-programming, no preparation difference. What happens? The outcome still depends on your choice. Choose sequential opening. The marble appears in one box, random distribution. Choose simultaneous opening. The marble behaves as if it was in both boxes, interference pattern forms, same boxes. Same preparation, same marble. The only variable is your decision about how to observe, and that decision determines the physical reality that appears. Let me say that again clearly. Your observation didn't reveal the outcome. It produced it. It created it. Okay, next objection. Maybe the marble has some kind of undetectable sensing ability. Some kind of radar. A way of knowing about both boxes even though it's only in one. Clever idea, but it collapses immediately under physics. Here's the problem. If the marble were always physically in just one box, radar or not, you would never get an interference pattern. Interference only happens with waves. Two overlapping wave sources interacting with each other. One source cannot create an interference pattern unless it is literally spread across multiple locations at the same time. The mathematics is ruthless here. The equations leave no escape route. The physics is unforgiving. There is no version of reality where the marble is secretly hiding in one box and still producing that pattern. Which means this: before observation, the marble is not in box A, it is not in box B. It is not secretly in one of them. It exists in a superposition state, literally occupying both locations simultaneously as a wave of probability. And here's the part that should make your stomach drop. So you're saying reality doesn't exist until someone looks at it? Let's be precise, because this matters. Before observation, there is no localized, solid marble sitting in a specific place. There is a wave function, a real physical field of probability, but not a fixed object. The marble as a solid, located thing does not yet exist. Observation collapses the wave function. And here's the part that's even more disturbing: you don't even have to see it. Knowledge alone is enough. You open box A, it's empty. Instantly, you know the marble is in box B. That knowledge alone collapses the wave. No visual contact required. Conscious awareness is sufficient. So does that mean the world doesn't exist when you're not looking at it? Is this solipsism? Is this madness? No, that's not what this is saying. And this distinction is crucial. Before observation, reality exists in superposition, multiple possibilities coexisting as a single unified wave state. Not separate worlds, not separate realities. One probability structure. When observation happens, the wave collapses into one specific outcome. That outcome becomes objective reality, meaning other people see it too. It's not just in your mind. The mountain is there whether you look at it or not, but here's the catch. It exists in a stable form because it's constantly being observed by photons, by air molecules, by environmental interaction. Observation at the quantum level is happening continuously. Big objects appear solid because their wave functions are constantly collapsing due to environmental contact. Small isolated systems don't have that. They remain in superposition, in possibility, in uncertainty, in potential, waiting for observation to collapse them into something definite. And this is where it stops being abstract physics and starts becoming personal. Because your memories are not mountains. Your trauma is not a solid object. Your past is not a stable physical structure. Memory is reconstruction. Memory is reobservation. Every time you remember something, you are collapsing a wave function into a specific version of the past. A specific narrative, a specific interpretation, a specific emotional structure. And here's the dangerous question. What if you're not just remembering your past? What if you're actively selecting which version of it becomes real? This is the moment where the skeleton in the closet fully steps into the light. Here's the logical trap that physicists can't escape. We have one set of boxes, prepared identically, no differences. No tricks, no hidden variables. And yet, sequential observation, right arrow marble in one box only, completely localized. The other box is empty. The marble was never there. Simultaneous observation, right arrow marble must have been in both boxes. The interference pattern mathematically proves it. There is no other explanation. So which is true? Was the marble in one box? Or was it in both? The answer is both and neither. This is where language breaks, where logic collapses, where common sense fails. The marble was not in a definite state before observation. It wasn't secretly in box A with you just not knowing. It wasn't in a state of either A or B. It was in genuine superposition. A state that is neither one nor the other, but both simultaneously. And your observation, your free choice about how to look, determined which aspect of that superposition became real. Not became known, became real. Now here's the part no one prepares you for. If the marble doesn't have a definite position until observed, and the marble is made of atoms, and atoms are made of quantum particles, and your body is made of atoms, then what does that say about you? About the chair you're sitting on, about the room around you, about the world itself? Big things are just collections of small things. If small things don't have definite properties until observed, how do big things suddenly become real? The answer physicists give is deeply uncomfortable. For all practical purposes. For all practical purposes. Big things behave as real because they're constantly collapsing through environmental observation. Air, light, contact, interaction, continuous observation. But listen to that phrase, for all practical purposes. That's not physics, that's philosophy, that's comfort language. That's them saying, we don't actually know where the line is, so let's not look too closely. Bruce Lipton said we've lived as if we're victims of our biology, our genetics. Our past, but quantum mechanics reveals we're architects. Joe Dispenza built his entire framework on this principle. That changing your internal observation changes your external reality. Not symbolically, not metaphorically, but literally, because observation collapses probability into actuality. This is the secret. This isn't positive thinking. This isn't manifestation culture. This is quantum mechanics, and it's been verified thousands of times, so here's the real question. If observation creates reality at the quantum level, what are you observing in your life? Sit with that. Because everything you've been taught, that reality is fixed, solid, independent of you, may be wrong at the deepest level. Your past is not a videotape that plays the same way every time. It's a wave function that collapses every time you remember it, every time you observe it, every time you tell the story again. The narrative you carry about your trauma, that's one collapsed state. One version, one possibility made real. But the wave function of your past doesn't contain just one outcome. It holds other possibilities, other interpretations, other meanings. All of them coexisting in superposition until you choose which one to collapse into reality. And I know this is uncomfortable. I know your mind is pushing back right now. Because if this is true, then something else is also true. You've been giving your power away. You've been living as if your past determines your present, when in fact, your present observation determines which version of the past becomes real for you. This isn't about erasing what happened. It's not about pretending trauma didn't occur. It's about changing the wave you collapse, the meaning you assign, the reality you extract from the field of possibility. And this is the skeleton in the closet, the truth that makes physicists uneasy because it suggests consciousness isn't just watching reality unfold. It's actively participating in creating it. And if that's true for a marble in a box, then it's true for everything. Your memories, your identity, your potential. So the real question becomes, are you ready to step into that responsibility? Into that level of power? Because here's the paradox no one talks about. The moment you fully accept that you're creating your reality through observation, you also have to accept that you've been creating your suffering through observation as well. That's not about blame. That's about power. Power you've always had but were never taught how to use. Let's go deeper because understanding the physics is only the beginning. Applying it to healing is where real transformation happens. This is where quantum mechanics and trauma healing intersect in ways most therapists never mention. Traditional trauma therapy is built on a fixed past model. Something happened. It's over. It's recorded. Now we process it, cope with it, and learn how to live with it. But what if that model is incomplete at the quantum level? Every time you remember a traumatic event, you're not playing back a recording. You're reconstructing it. You're reobserving it. And in that moment of observation, you're collapsing the wave function of that memory into a specific state. Most people collapse it the same way every time. Same emotions, same meaning. Same sense of helplessness. And every time they do, they reinforce that collapse. They make it more solid, more real, more defining. But the quantum box experiment shows something radical. You have a choice in how you observe, and that choice determines which reality manifests. The trauma happened. I'm not denying that. But the meaning of that trauma, the emotional charge attached to it, the identity it created, that is the wave function you are collapsing each time you revisit it. And superposition means something crucial. Other possibilities exist, other meanings, other interpretations. All of them equally real within the quantum field, waiting to be collapsed into your lived experience. This is what Joe Dispenza means when he talks about breaking the habit of being yourself. You're not just changing thoughts. You're changing which wave function you collapse when you observe your identity. This is what Bruce Lipton uncovered through epigenetics. Your genes are not a fixed destiny. The environment you create through your observation, your beliefs, your emotional state, your stress response, your consciousness, that environment determines which genetic possibilities express themselves. Genes exist in superposition. Trauma exists in superposition. Your potential exists in superposition. Conscious, intentional observation collapses those possibilities into actuality. Let me be very clear about what I'm not saying. I'm not saying you can just think positive and your trauma disappears. That's spiritual bypassing and it can be harmful. What I am saying is this: the trauma occurred, but the story about what it means, the identity it shaped, the future it seemed to predict, those are collapsed wave functions. And wave functions can be collapsed differently, but that requires more than thought. It requires coherence. Your thoughts, emotions, and actions aligning to observe a new possibility and collapse a different wave. Most people think healing means accepting the past as fixed and learning how to cope with it. But quantum mechanics suggests something else. Healing may mean recognizing the past isn't fixed at all. It's a superposition of possibilities you're constantly collapsing through observation. And if you can change how you observe, you can change which version of the past becomes real for you. Not erasing what happened, but collapsing a different meaning, a different identity, a different future trajectory from the same quantum field of possibility. This is the power the skeleton in the closet reveals, the power physicists are deeply uncomfortable discussing. So are you ready to use it? Let me say something radical, something that may sound insane until you really sit with it. You are not discovering who you are collapsing who you become. In every moment, your identity exists in superposition. Multiple versions of you, multiple possibilities, multiple trajectories, all coexisting in the quantum field. And in every moment, through your observation, your focus, your attention, your emotional investment, you collapse one version into reality. Most people collapse the same version again and again. They observe themselves through the lens of their past, their trauma, their failures, their limitations. And every observation reinforces that collapsed state. But here's the shift. What if you started observing differently, not pretending to be someone you're not forcing affirmations you don't believe, but genuinely changing the lens through which you observe? The field you tune into, the wave function you collapse. The quantum box experiment proves that observation determines outcome, not sometimes, not symbolically, always, physically, your focus. Your attention, your emotional state, these aren't just thoughts. They are the observer collapsing the field of possibility into your lived reality. When you wake up and immediately focus on what's wrong, you're not just being negative. You're actively collapsing the wave function of your day toward more of what's wrong. You are the observer choosing the interference pattern that forms. When you revisit your trauma with the same emotional charge, you're not just remembering. You're recollapsing that wave function into the same painful state. You're opening the boxes the same way and getting the same result. But that's where it becomes revolutionary. When you change how you observe, you change the collapse. Not by denying the past, but by observing it differently. By asking different questions. By collapsing different meanings from the same quantum field. Think about it this way. The marble experiment shows that before observation, both possibilities coexist. Marble in box A. Marble in box B, both real in superposition. In the same way, your healed self and your traumatized self both exist right now in superposition. Your abundant self and your scarce self, superposition. Your empowered self and your victim self, superposition. The question is, which one are you collapsing through observation? Every time you focus on limitation, you collapse that version. Every time you emotionally invest in your old identity, you reinforce that state. Every time you observe yourself as powerless, you create that reality. But the inverse is also true. Every time you observe possibility, you collapse toward it. Every time you emotionally invest in a new identity, you strengthen that state. Every time you observe yourself as the creator, you become the creator. This isn't magic. This is physics. The same physics that allows the marble to be in both boxes or one box, depending on how it's observed. Joe Dispenza calls this breaking the habit of being yourself. But a more accurate description is this: stopping the habit of collapsing the same self. Bruce Lipton showed that your cells respond to the environment created by your observation. Your beliefs generate the chemical environment that determines which genes express. You're not trapped by your biology, you're collapsing which biology manifests. And here's the most profound part. The quantum field doesn't judge. It doesn't label one observation as better or worse. It simply responds to coherence. Coherence means your thoughts, emotions, and actions are aligned. They're all observing the same possibility. They're all collapsing the same wave function. This is why affirmations alone don't work. You can say, "I am abundant," while emotionally observing scarcity, and the emotion will win. Emotion is the stronger observer. This is exactly why visualization by itself doesn't work. You can picture success all day long while your body still feels like a failure. And the body is observing too. The body collapses its own reality. True manifestation, true reality creation, requires coherent observation. Mind, heart, and body all tuned to the same frequency, all collapsing the same wave function together. The real skeleton in the closet isn't just that observation creates reality. It's that you've been creating your reality this entire time. You just didn't know you were the observer. You thought you were discovering your limitations. In truth, you were collapsing them. You thought you were trapped by your past. You were recreating it every time you observed it the same way. You thought you were a victim of circumstance. You were the quantum observer determining which circumstance became real. This is what physicists don't want to talk about because it places radical responsibility on consciousness, on you. And let me be very clear about something important. This is not responsibility for what happened to you. You did not create your trauma. You did not deserve your pain. This is responsibility for what happens next. Responsibility for which version of yourself you collapse going forward, which meaning you assign, which timeline you observe into existence. Your past exists in superposition, multiple meanings, multiple identities, multiple interpretations. Your present observation determines which past becomes real for you now. Your future also exists in superposition, infinite possibilities waiting. Your present observation determines which future you collapse toward. This isn't philosophy. This is quantum mechanics applied to consciousness, and once you truly see it, you can't unsee it. So here's the question. What are you ready to start observing differently? Let me give you something practical, something you can do tonight to begin collapsing a different wave function. Right before sleep, your brain enters a highly suggestible state. It's the borderland between the conscious and subconscious mind. This is a quantum moment. This is when observation carries extraordinary power. Here's what most people do instead. They replay their day, everything that went wrong, every mistake, every regret, every failure. And in that suggestible state, they collapse tomorrow's wave function toward more of the same. They open the boxes sequentially, the same way, every time, and they keep getting the same result. But what if you open the boxes differently? Tonight, before you fall asleep, do this. Close your eyes and instead of reviewing who you were today, observe who you are becoming, not as fantasy, not as wishful thinking, as reality in superposition, as a possibility that already exists and is waiting to collapse. Feel it in your body, the confidence, the calm, the grounded power. Not as something that will arrive someday, but as something present now. As the wave function you are choosing to collapse, hold that coherent observation for as long as you can. Thoughts aligned. Emotions aligned, body aligned, all observing the same reality. You're not pretending, you're not lying to yourself. You are collapsing a wave function that exists right now in quantum possibility into your lived experience. The quantum field does not care about your past. It responds to your present observation. Your present coherence, your present choice of which wave to collapse. This is how you begin, small, consistent, coherent, and in the morning before you open your eyes, do the same thing. Observe the version of yourself you are collapsing toward, not who you were, who you are becoming. Here's what will happen. At first, it will feel fake, like you're making it up. Like you're pretending. That's not failure. That's your old collapsed state resisting change. That's the sequential observation pattern trying to keep reality the way it has always been. Stay with it. Because observation creates reality, not instantly, not magically, but consistently, coherently. Now let me tell you why physicists keep this skeleton hidden. Why they're so uncomfortable with these implications. because it destroys the comforting myth of objectivity, the belief that reality exists out there, independent of consciousness. That we are just neutral observers discovering what already exists. The experiment proves that's not true. We are not discovering reality, we are collapsing it. We are participating in which possibilities become actual. And if that's true, then every physicist, every scientist, every observer is influencing the outcome of an experiment, not through bias. Through consciousness itself. That idea is destabilizing. It suggests consciousness is fundamental to reality, not a side effect of evolution. So they say, shut up and calculate. They say, for all practical purposes. They compartmentalize, they keep the skeleton hidden, but you don't have to. Because you're not trying to preserve objectivity. You're trying to transform your life, and transformation requires facing uncomfortable truth. You've been collapsing your reality all along. The only question is whether you'll continue doing it unconsciously or start doing it consciously. This is the power the quantum box experiment reveals. This is what the skeleton in the closet really means. Your consciousness is not separate from the physical world. It is the observer that collapses the wave. The sculptor shaping reality from infinite possibility, not through magical thinking but through coherent observation, aligned focus, aligned emotion, aligned action. And here's where it gets even more interesting. This is episode 15 of the Observer Effect series. 15 episodes exploring how observation shapes reality, how consciousness collapses the wave. How you are creating your experienced world moment by moment. But here's what almost nobody tells you about that skeleton in the closet. The engineers and physicists who build the technology you use every single day know something. Something they rarely talk about. Something that connects the quantum device in your pocket to the quantum consciousness collapsing your reality. In the next episode, Observer Effect 16, I'm going to show you how nearly 1/3 of the modern economy runs on quantum mechanics. Not theory, not philosophy. Real quantum principles powering the device you're watching this on right now. And here's the twist. The engineers who work with these technologies have developed what physicists call a benign schizophrenia. The ability to hold contradictions, to work with two impossible truths at the same time. Sound familiar? Because that's exactly what you're learning to do with your consciousness, with your past, with your power to collapse multiple realities. There's a reason they don't talk about the deeper implications, a reason they focus on applications and avoid meaning. And that reason connects directly to everything we've explored about consciousness, observation, and reality creation. I'll show you the bridge between the laser scanning your groceries and the consciousness collapsing your healing. Between the transistor in your computer and the quantum observer collapsing your identity. You'll see why the same physicists who prove observation creates reality go silent when asked what that means for human consciousness. Check the description for the playlist and the next episode. Trust me, you don't want to miss this connection. If something inside you is resonating right now, if a part of you knows this is true even while your rational mind resists, hit subscribe. Because this conversation, this understanding, this community of conscious observers is just beginning. Drop one word in the comments that captures your biggest takeaway from this episode. Just one word. Let's see what we're collectively collapsing. And before you go, hear this clearly. You are not broken. You are not stuck. You are not a victim of your past. You are a quantum observer standing at the intersection of infinite possibility, with the power to collapse any wave function you choose. The marble is always in both boxes until observed. Your healed self and your wounded self coexist until observed. Your abundant future and your limited future exist in superposition until observed. So tonight, which one are you collapsing? That is your power. That is your choice. That is the skeleton in the closet. Welcome to Quantum Consciousness. Welcome to Observer Effect Episode 15 complete. Episode 16 awaits. And trust me, what you're about to discover about the technology in your hands will forever change how you see the consciousness in your mind. Now go collapse some wave functions. I'll see you in the next one.